It's been a week full of activity, both political and business, from people talking about how KRA is going to deny them access to their own soft life, to KQ recalling some of their employees who were laid off because of the harsh economic effects of COVID-19. Today, we put perspective to all this. I am Brian Jozotieno, and yes, you are right, in time for business today on KTN News, the only name in business. We start you off with matters of healthcare. On matters of healthcare investment, Afrikinvest Private Credit has partnered with Ruai Family Hospital Limited. The hospital, one of the only 12 level 5 hospitals in Eastlands, Nairobi, will use the new funding to expand in other locations across the country. This move is set to improve the universal healthcare expansion across the country at large. And of course, we'll be keeping an eye on that story to give you much more perspective, as health is one even of the 4 big pillars of the Big 4 agenda. Let's go to that story that I hinted on in my intro. With pent-up demand for air travel fast kicking in, Kenya Airways is betting big on growing its passenger numbers as well as revenue even as the festive season draws near. According to the airline, it is reconsidering to recall some of its former employees who were affected by restructuring, of course, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Although the airline has remained tight-lipped over the matter, KQ has been in the red, with air travel being significantly dented following the adverse effects of the coronavirus pandemic had on the aviation business. Kenya Airways downsized its workforce last year to survive the COVID-19 turbulence, and of course we also saw a bit of refashioning of those passenger planes to cargo, and of course it has resorted into also downsizing on operational costs. Very well. On matters curriculum, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, KICD, funded by UAP Old Mutual Group, have commenced the development of financial literacy guidelines for teachers. This follows the successful completion of an in-depth analysis in identifying gaps in the existing financial literacy matrices in the learning curriculum. The partnership, valued at 21 million Kenya shillings and dubbed Old Mutual Learn, Think, Do supports efforts to integrate financial literacy into the CBC, which, apart from academic knowledge, seeks to impart core life skills among learners.
The partnership is interesting to us for 2 reasons. One, KICD has got the institutional capability to roll out this thing across the country, but significantly, the fact that they can do it on different platforms. And I think all of us remember that when COVID came through, learners and teaching could not happen on a face-to-face basis. And I think at that time, KICD demonstrated their capability to roll out learning virtually on different platforms. So for us, that is exciting, the fact that KICD is the custodian of curriculum in this country. But secondly, they have the capabilities to actually roll out this program on different platforms. So that is why we think this is significant.
Coming at a point after we have done needs assessment of the curriculum and noted that there are several things that need to really come out and come out strongly in the competency-based curriculum. Looking back all the way from independence, Kenya identified 3 things to deal with: health, poverty, and ignorance. And this comes in education as a driver for all those pillars. Very well. A lot of good news today, of course, that is coming against the backdrop of a lot of complaints that have been going on about the financial literacy in the country. But now we want to dive right into the big stories of the week. And BizChat Weekly starts now. Joining me, of course, are our resident analysts. Ken Gishinga, CEO Mentoria, is in our town studio. William Odhiambo Ramogi, who also works at Elim Capital, is joining us virtually together with the good gentleman Wohoro Ndoho. Gentlemen, good to see you on the show once again. I want us to start with that story that I think one of the latest legislations that has happened, this week, about members of parliament reviewing some of the requirements that employers need not to look at when they are considering getting, employees and staff. So part of the things that are now going to be scrapped off the list of any person's requirements when they're applying for jobs is HELB, KRA clearance certificate,
among so many others, things like certificate of good conduct. And they were saying that job seekers must not prove they are not criminals. Gishinga, I'd like you to go first on this. What are your quick reactions, and are we risking seeing more defaults in the country now, as you are not even needed to show your credit history to get a job?
Many thanks, Brian George. I think that piece of legislation is quite thoughtful. It did a bit of research, and it showed that state agencies earn about 750 million shillings from all the